I still keep that old family photo in my desk drawer. Not because it brings me joy, but as a reminder of how far I have come. There was a time when that picture represented everything I thought I had lost forever. One false accusation planted evidence, and suddenly at 16 years old I was thrown out like garbage. My own father looked me in the eyes and said I was no longer his son. Now, 30 years later, an unexpected message has appeared forcing me to confront the past I thought I had left behind. Before I take you through my journey from abandoned teen to the man I am today, let me know where you are watching from. Hit subscribe if you want to hear more stories about overcoming family betrayal and finding your own path to success. My childhood was fairly normal until I turned 12. That is when my biological mother lost her battle with cancer, leaving just me and my dad, Richard. For about a year, we muddled through our grief together, creating a tight bond that I thought nothing could break. Then Catherine entered the picture. Looking back, I do not blame my father for wanting companionship again. He was still relatively young at 40, and Catherine seemed nice enough at first. When they announced their engagement, I tried to be supportive despite my reservations. The wedding was small, and just like that, at 13 years old, I suddenly had two step-siblings, Marcus 15 and Sophia 14. We moved into Catherine's larger house in a nice Boston suburb, combining our lives like some kind of modern Brady Bunch experiment. The first few months were awkward, but cordial. I remember trying so hard to fit in with my new family members. I would offer to help Sophia with her homework or join Marcus when he was shooting hoops in the driveway. Sometimes it seemed like things might actually work out, but there were signs from the beginning that I was missing. Catherine would always serve her kids first at dinner. When buying clothes, her children would get name brands while I got whatever was on sale. Small things, but they added up. What really set things in motion, though, was the growing resentment from Marcus. As the new school year started, it became obvious that I was academically gifted. My straight, as contrasted with his C's and D's, causing tension at report card time. Peter is really excelling in his advanced math class. My dad commented proudly one evening after a parent-teacher conference. I will never forget the look of pure hatred Marcus shot me from across the table. Things only got worse when I joined the school track team and turned out to be faster than Marcus, who had been running for 2 years already. During one home meet, I broke the school freshman record for the 800-meter. The coach made a big deal about it, and my dad actually showed up and cheered loudly. Later that night, I found my running shoes stuffed in the toilet. Sophia and I had initially gotten along better. She was artistic and kind, often showing me her sketches or asking about my day. But as Marcus's campaign against me intensified, she gradually pulled away, increasingly loyal to her biological brother. The incidents escalated over the next 3 years. Items would go missing in the house, only to be found in my room. Chores I had completed would somehow be undone before parents got home. My homework would mysteriously disappear from my backpack. Each time, Marcus would be there with a smirk as I tried to explain myself. My father, who had once been my closest ally, began to grow distant. Catherine would whisper to him constantly little comments about me being difficult or just going through a phase. I watched our relationship deteriorate as he spent more time with his new family and less time with me. By my sophomore year, things had reached a breaking point. I had received a prestigious academic achievement award that apparently Marcus had been counting on for his college applications. The school only gave out one per grade, and mine would now be noted on my permanent record. That night, Marcus cornered me in the hallway upstairs. "You think you are so special. Do not you," he hissed. "Always trying to make me look bad. Always trying to steal my dad's attention." "He is my dad," I replied, confused by his statement. "Not anymore," Marcus said with a cold smile. "You will see. They do not even want you here." When my 16th birthday came around that spring, the family celebrated with a quick dinner and a store-bought cake. 2 weeks later, for Marcus's 18th birthday, Catherine arranged a massive party, invited 50 people, and my dad gave him a used car. The message was clear: I was not a priority in this new family. The day that changed everything started like any other. I had track practice after school and arrived home around 5:30, sweaty and tired. The moment I walked through the door, I felt the tension. Everyone was sitting in the living room, faces grim. My backpack had been emptied onto the coffee table. "What is going on?" I asked, already feeling a sense of dread. My father could not look at me. Catherine sat rigid, her arm around a tearful Sophia, and Marcus had a triumphant gleam in his eye that sent chills down my spine. "We found these in your room," Catherine said coldly, pointing to several printed photos on the table. My blood ran cold as I realized what they were: inappropriate images of teenage girls, including what appeared to be secretly taken photos of Sophia changing clothes. The images were clearly printed from a computer, and I had never seen them before. "That is not mine," I said immediately, my voice cracking. "I would never. Those are not mine." "We found them taped under your desk drawer," Marcus added, his voice dripping with fake concern. I was borrowing a charger and noticed the corner of something sticking out. The previous day flashed in my mind, catching Marcus in my room going through my things. He had threatened me, and now I understood why. "He is lying," I shouted, turning desperately to my father. "Dad, you know me. I would never do something like this." "Marcus put those there. He told me yesterday he was going to make you hate me." Catherine stood up, shaking with rage. "How dare you accuse my son to cover for your disgusting behavior, Richard? I told you this would happen. I want him out of this house." My father finally looked at me, and what I saw broke something inside me. There was no trust there, no love, just disappointment and disgust. "Dad," I pleaded, "please. I do not know what has happened to you," he said quietly. "But I cannot have someone who would do this under my roof, not with Sophia here. I did not do it. I was crying now, something I had not done since my mother's funeral." Marcus set me up. "Call the police, check the computer, do something." "Enough," Catherine snapped. "We are not involving the police because we do not want to traumatize Sophia further or ruin your future. But you cannot stay here. You have until morning to pack your things," my father said, standing up. "I will give you $500 to get started somewhere else, but after that you are on your own." I stood there, shell-shocked. As they all filed out of the room, Marcus was the last to leave, and he paused beside me. "Told you," he whispered. "You are nothing to them now." That night was the longest of my life. I tried repeatedly to talk to my father alone, but he avoided me. Sophia would not even look in my direction. I called my grandmother, my only remaining relative, but Catherine had already spoken to her, and the call ended with her telling me she was ashamed of me. As the night progressed, my shock gave way to a numb acceptance. I packed what I could into 2 suitcases and a backpack. At one point, I stood outside my father's bedroom door, hand raised to knock, before walking away. The father I knew was already gone. The next morning, my father handed me an envelope with the cash and a note with my grandmother's address, suggesting I try there despite our call. His final words to me as I stood on the porch with my bags were, "You are no longer my son." I spent that first night in a cheap motel, trying to figure out what to do. 16 years old, $500 to my name, and nowhere to go. I considered going to the police about the photos, but feared that without evidence it would only make things worse. Who would believe a teenager against a whole family? My one stroke of luck came in the form of Mrs. Jackson, my high school guidance counselor. When I showed up at school the next day, clearly having slept in my clothes, she pulled me aside. I broke down and told her everything. While she could not officially take my side against my family without proof, she helped me navigate the system. With her assistance, I filed for emancipation and found a shared apartment with 2 other young adults. She connected me with resources for homeless youth and helped me apply for emergency assistance programs. It was not enough, but it was something. The hardest part was continuing my education while working enough hours to survive. Many nights I went to bed hungry, trying not to think about the family dinners I was missing. The next few years were a brutal education in survival. I worked 3 different minimum wage jobs, morning shifts at a bakery, before school evenings at a gas station, and weekend landscaping work. My grades suffered, but I managed to maintain a solid B average through sheer determination. My shared apartment was crowded and often chaotic, but my roommates Mark and Jasmine had their own troubled backgrounds, and we formed a kind of makeshift family. We pooled resources, covered for each other, and somehow made it work. Mrs. Jackson remained my strongest advocate. She helped me apply for every scholarship available and wrote glowing recommendations. When senior year came around against all odds, I was accepted to State University with financial aid. It was not the Ivy League future I had once imagined, but it was a path forward. In college, I declared a computer science major, recognizing the growing tech industry as my best chance at financial independence. Between classes, I worked at the university IT department, gaining practical experience while earning slightly above minimum wage. During my sophomore year, I met Professor Williams, who would become my mentor. He noticed my potential during a difficult programming course and took me under his wing. For the first time since my mother died, I had someone who genuinely believed in me. "You have a natural talent for systems thinking," he told me after I completed a particularly complex project. "But more importantly, you have grit. That will take you further than talent ever could." Through Professor Williams, I secured an internship at a small tech startup during my junior year. The company was developing innovative database management software, and my ideas caught the attention of the founders. By graduation, they offered me a full-time position with stock options, a rare opportunity I gratefully accepted. While my professional life was slowly improving, my personal life remained wounded. I struggled with trust issues and kept most people at arm's length. The abandonment had left deep scars that no amount of success seemed to heal. At Professor Williams's urging, I finally sought therapy through a graduate student program at the university. Slowly, I began to process the trauma and understand that what happened was not my fault. My therapist helped me see that my father's failure to trust me reflected his weaknesses, not mine. In my mid-20s, I met Emma at a tech conference where we were both presenting. She was a law student, specializing in technology rights, brilliant and compassionate. Our relationship developed slowly, as I cautiously opened myself to the possibility of connection. Emma's family was everything mine had not been: supportive, loving, and accepting. The first Thanksgiving I spent with them was overwhelming. I had almost forgotten what it felt like to be part of a healthy family dynamic. Her parents treated me like a son, and her siblings welcomed me without reservation. As my personal healing progressed, my career accelerated. The startup where I worked gained traction, and my innovative approach to database security became a key selling point. By 28, I was the chief technology officer. At 30, when the company was acquired by a major tech corporation, my stock options suddenly made me wealthy. Instead of staying with the acquiring company, I took my earnings and founded my own tech security firm. The timing was perfect, as businesses were just beginning to understand the importance of data protection. Within 5 years, my company had grown to over 100 employees with offices in 3 cities. Emma and I married in a small ceremony, surrounded by her family and the few close friends I had made along the way. Mrs. Jackson attended as my honorary family, sitting in the front row where a mother would traditionally sit. As we discussed starting our own family, Emma suggested something that resonated deeply: adoption. "There are so many children who have been abandoned or forgotten by the system," she said. "We could give them what they deserve: a real home." Over the next decade, we adopted 3 children who had experienced various forms of family trauma. Tyler came to us at 8, after bouncing through 6 foster homes. Zoe was 12 and had been removed from an abusive household, and Michael, just 4, had been abandoned at a hospital as an infant. Watching these children heal and thrive under stable, loving care became my greatest accomplishment. Each milestone they achieved felt like a personal victory against the darkness of my own past. When Tyler graduated high school and earned a scholarship, I cried tears of joy I had not known I was capable of feeling. Meanwhile, I channeled significant portions of my company profits into philanthropic work, establishing a foundation that supported emancipated and homeless youth. We provided housing, educational opportunities, and mentorship to teenagers in situations similar to mine. The Peter Wilson Foundation eventually expanded to serve young people in 15 states. I also established a scholarship fund in Mrs. Jackson's name at my old high school, ensuring that compassionate educators would be recognized for the life-changing difference they made. When we invited her to the dedication ceremony, she hugged me and whispered, "I always knew you would do something extraordinary." Through distant connections and occasional social media glimpses, I gathered bits of information about my former family over the years. Marcus had gone through 3 marriages, each ending, after his manipulative nature emerged. Sophia had become an elementary school teacher, seemingly the most stable of the family. And my father and Catherine had experienced financial difficulties after his small construction business failed during a recession. I never sought this information out, but I did not actively avoid it either. The pain had dulled to a distant ache, a story that happened to someone else. I had built a life that was completely my own, defined not by what I had lost, but by what I had created. The email arrived on an ordinary Tuesday morning. I was reviewing quarterly reports in my home office when the notification appeared: "Richard Wilson wants to connect with you on LinkedIn." My coffee cup froze halfway to my lips as I stared at the name. 30 years had passed since I had heard directly from my father. 30 years of building a life healing wounds and moving forward. Now, with a simple digital request, the past came rushing back. Emma found me still staring at the screen minutes later. "What is wrong? You look like you have seen a ghost." In many ways, I had. I showed her the notification, and she immediately sat beside me, her hand steady on my shoulder. "You do not have to respond," she said gently. "You owe him nothing." But curiosity and something else, a need for closure I had not realized still existed, prompted me to accept the connection. Within hours, a message appeared. "Peter, I do not know if you will read this, but I hope you will. So much has happened, and we have recently learned the horrible truth about what Marcus did to you all those years ago." Sophia discovered everything through Marcus's drunken confession at a family gathering. He has been struggling with substance abuse and finally broke down. "Peter, there are no words to express my regret and shame for what we did to you. Catherine passed away 5 years ago, and I have been reflecting on all my failures. If you are willing, I would like to speak with you. Please." I shared the message with Emma, who remained supportive but cautious. "This is entirely your decision," she said. "But remember that this is about your healing, not his." After careful consideration, I agreed to a video call, setting clear boundaries in my response. When the day came, I was shocked by the image on my screen. My father had aged far beyond his 70 years, his face deeply lined his once robust frame, now frail. "Peter," he said, his voice breaking. "Thank you for speaking with me." Sophia joined the call moments later, her eyes red-rimmed. "I cannot believe it is really you," she said. "You look so different, so successful. Life has been good to me," I replied, simply maintaining emotional distance. They told me everything then. How Marcus had spun further out of control over the years, his manipulations becoming more obvious. How he had been fired from multiple jobs for similar behaviors, fabricating evidence against coworkers who threatened his position. How his most recent divorce had left him desperate and drinking heavily. At last year's Thanksgiving, Sophia explained he got completely drunk and started rambling about all the things he had gotten away with. When he mentioned planting those pictures in your room, I could not believe it. I confronted him when he was sober, and he finally admitted everything. "We tried to find you for months," my father added. "Your foundation came up in a search, but we had no way of knowing if it was the same Peter Wilson." They spoke of regret and lost years. They talked about Marcus's current stay in rehab and the financial difficulties they had encountered. My father had medical issues that had depleted his savings, and Sophia was struggling as a single mother of 2. As they talked, I felt a complex mixture of emotions: vindication that the truth had finally come out, anger at the years stolen from me, pity for the broken family before me, and a strange sense of peace that came from seeing how completely I, too, had moved beyond their influence. "What are you looking for from me?" I finally asked when they finished their explanation. My father hesitated, then spoke honestly. "Forgiveness if possible. And we are struggling, Peter. I hate to even ask, but medical bills have taken everything." I considered my response carefully. "I can help with your medical expenses," I said finally, "because no one should suffer without proper care. But I need you both to understand something. I am not looking for a family reunion or to pretend the last 30 years did not happen." I told them about my life, the foundation, my company, Emma, our children. I explained how the abandonment had shaped me, forcing me to build resilience and self-reliance I might never have discovered otherwise. In a strange way, I admitted what happened, made me who I am today. Not because of you, but despite you. 2 weeks later, I met them in person at a neutral location, a private room in a restaurant near their home. Emma came with me, her quiet strength, a reminder of the family I had chosen for myself. The conversation was difficult, but necessary. I established clear boundaries while agreeing to limited ongoing contact. I arranged for my father's medical bills to be covered through a trust, rather than direct payments, maintaining a necessary emotional and financial distance. When I introduced them to pictures of my children, I saw genuine regret in my father's eyes for the grandchildren he would barely know. Sophia asked if she might sometime meet my family, and I promised to consider it in the future once trust had been established. As we prepared to leave, my father attempted to hug me. I stepped back, not yet ready for that level of intimacy. Instead, I offered my hand, which he shook with tears in his eyes. "I did not come looking for you to ease my conscience," I told them both. "I rebuilt my life without you, and I am at peace with that. Whatever relationship we have moving forward has to be based on who we are now, not who we were then." The most profound realization from this unexpected reconnection was that true healing had come long before they reappeared. I had already created my own definition of family through Emma, our children, and the community we had built. Their validation, while satisfying, was not necessary for my completeness. Forgiveness, I discovered, was not about erasing the past, but about freeing myself from its power to hurt me. I chose to forgive, not because they deserved it, but because I deserved peace. Have you ever had to rebuild your life after family betrayal? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If my story resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more journeys of resilience and redemption. Thank you for joining me today. And remember, sometimes the family you choose becomes more important than the family you were born into. Share this video with someone who might need to hear that they too can rise above their circumstances and create a life of meaning and purpose.